It's Monday, the 18th of April, 2022. Welcome to Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Did you have a good Easter, Sean?
I did. I had a great, in fact, I'm still enjoying Easter, the long weekend. Yeah. Plenty of Easter eggs, and where I am, it's been sunny, which has been a bit of a change. So I've had a great time. What about you?
Yeah, loved it. Do you reckon you're ever too old to enjoy an Easter egg hunt?
No. And I'm a Darryl Lee Easter egg person. I don't know about yourself, but, I like sort of all the fillings and everything that goes inside it.
Yeah. Suddenly, as you get to a point where you suddenly start to appreciate kind of different things about Easter eggs.
That's right.
When you're a kid, it's about quantity.
Yep.
And as you get older, it gets a little bit more about quality. Still a bit of quantity, though, as well, of course.
Of course. Did you eat a lot of Easter eggs?
Yes, and I'm still going. Although, as I've mentioned previously, I am a saver of Easter eggs, and I will manage to stretch them out for about the next 10 or 11 months. It's a slightly disgusting little quirk, but anyway.
Unfair on your kids.
Yeah. Now, Sean, we do have it's a bit of a shorter version of the show today, obviously, because most of the country is still on holidays, and so we'll be back with our regular edition tomorrow morning. But to make up for the slightly abbreviated version, we've got a cracking interview coming up after the show. And today you're speaking to Brent Kochuba from the financial insights company based out of the US called Spot Gamma.
Yeah, great interview for anyone who likes to invest. We just went through all the big tech stocks, well, most of the big tech stocks in the US, and got Brent's view on whether he would buy or sell them. Simple as that.
Yeah, it's a cracker. But first, Sean, the lead story this morning, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has locked in his key post-election ministerial appointments with South Australia Senator Anne Ruston to replace Greg Hunt as Minister for Aged Care and Health.
Yes, that's, of course, assuming they win the election. Certainly the odds have shortened on a coalition victory, though they still remain the outsiders. The Prime Minister's move to nominate Senator Ruston means voters know exactly who will get the big jobs if the coalition win. It kind of gives them some slight advantage. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese has suggested he'll keep the same team in place, though Deputy Leader Richard Marles is likely to move back to defence. That would mean Brendan O'Connor moving on. That sort of uncertainty, I think, is what the Prime Minister is playing at. Now, much of the debate over the weekend was around the Liberal candidate for Warringah, Catherine Deves. Ms Deves has apologised for comments she made about transgender women competing in female sports. She's basically against it. But the opposition has well and truly jumped on her views. Ms Deves was a captain's pick by Mr Morrison for the seat formerly held by Tony Abbott and now held by independent Zali Steggall. Adding fuel to the fire somewhat yesterday was Minister for Women Marise Payne refusing to endorse the Liberal candidate for Warringah, which is very unusual.
Yeah, sure is. Now, Sean, a big event for the travel industry over the weekend. The ban on cruise ships expired yesterday.
Yes, the 2-year ban is up. Whew. I've never been on a cruise ship, Michael, but I have always wanted to go on one. I'm not sure where to. Have you?
No, never. But I think like Greek islands, some Mediterranean kind of thing. That is where if I could pick anywhere, I would be cruising there. That'd be a long cruise from Australia to the Mediterranean. So maybe I need to rethink this.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they're back anyway. The COVID-19 outbreak aboard the Ruby Princess that spilled into Sydney once the vessel docked is one of the worst outbreaks of the virus over the past 2 years. And really, that's what most of us think about when we think of cruise lines in Australia. Now, the ban to the cruise industry into Australia cost the industry around $10 billion, according to the Cruise Lines International Association. The industry in Australia, at its peak, creates about 18,000 jobs. P&O Cruises vessel, Pacific Explorer, is due into Sydney today. Other states will make their own decisions on when to reopen cruising as they desire.
Staying in the same sector, Sean, the airline and travel sector broadly finished last week pretty strongly on the market.
Yes, it sure did. It started late last week when US giant Delta Air said it had returned to profitability in March with strong demand making up for much higher fuel costs. Now that triggered a rally in global airline stocks, and by the close before the long weekend, Qantas was up 6.6%, Webjet had jumped more than 7%, and corporate travel management was up 5.5%. In fact, they were 3 of the 4 best performing stocks in the final day of trading last week.
Speaking of trading, Sean, how did the market finish on Friday?
S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.6% to 7,523 points. The materials companies, tech stocks, utilities, industrials and energy groups did well, but the all-powerful financial players didn't do so well. The big news late last week, Michael, was labour force figures. They show that the pace of Australian jobs growth slowed in March, which isn't unexpected given the clip it's been running in previous months. But employment was still up by 18,000. Employment growth is sitting at 2.6% and the unemployment rate is unchanged at 4%. Now, some were hoping the rate might fall into the threes, but it's still at its lowest level since 2008. Pretty good all in all.
Now, Sean, we love a bit of speculation about big moves in the market, and there are plenty of media reports that AMP is looking to split up its AMP Capital business.
Yes, now this has been going on for quite a few months now. According to The Australian, AMP is moving away from a spin-off of its marquee private markets unit, with talks to offload the bulk of the local real estate operations to investment house Dexus and its offshore infrastructure unit to Apollo Global Management or Digital Bridge Group. The move would mark a shift away from AMP's original plans for a demerger that would have left its funds unit, which is now rebranded as Collymate Capital, with about $44 billion in assets under management and listed on the ASX. So we'll wait and see on this one.
All right. Now, turning to international news, Elon Musk is already facing some pretty serious opposition in his bid to buy Twitter.
Yes, he announced late last week he wants to spend about $43 billion on Twitter and then take it private. He already owns 9%. Now, while Musk is currently worth around $250 billion, actually finding, $43 billion in cash isn't that easy. So that's one challenge. Also over the weekend, Twitter deployed a so-called poison pill plan. It allows shareholders other than Musk to buy additional stock at a discounted price that would flood the market with shares, making it more difficult for Mr. Musk to be able to take over the company. And according to the Washington Post, neither the Twitter board nor employees are particularly happy with Elon Musk running the company. So he still has a fair way to go.
Okay, now billionaire Roman Abramovich, Sean, has travelled to Kiev in a bid to restart peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, which stalled after evidence emerged of Russian atrocities against civilians.
Yes, Abramovich met with Ukrainian negotiators to discuss ways of reviving the negotiations, according to Bloomberg. The Russian billionaire, who has long-time ties to President Vladimir Putin, has been acting as an informal mediator since the war began in late February, when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked him to get involved. Meanwhile, Russia has stepped up airstrikes on Kyiv after 2 weeks of relative calm in the Ukrainian capital, and Moscow has said it's in full control of the ruined port of Mariupol, although some Ukrainian fighters are still resisting. President Zelensky said the situation in Mariupol is inhuman and called on the West to immediately provide heavy weapons.
All right. Now, Sean, up next, as we mentioned at the top of the show, is the Fear and Greed Daily interview. And today speaking to Brent Kachuba from the financial insights company Spot Gamma in the US.
Yes, talking about many of the big stocks anyway, Amazon, Apple, Meta, etc. What I like about this is that it's very simple. He says this is why it's a buy and this is why it's a sell, and off you go. Now, we're not a financial advice show. We say that many, many times, but it's great to get someone's view from New York about the stocks that are listed on Wall Street there.
Yeah, it's a good starting point for your research, so a great one for investors. We've also got the week ahead with our resident economist, Stephen Koukoulas. That's also in the Fear and Greed playlist, so there's plenty of good listening around for the public holiday Monday. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 18th of April, 2022. Make sure you're following the podcast and join us online on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was Fear and Greed. Have a great day.